What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Wednesday, July 19th, 2017, middle of the weekday, hump day, starting that long, slow glide down to Pauhana Friday and another weekend of whatever it is they're going to think of to mess up next. Okay, a lot of stuff to talk about today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials, keeping us out of trouble. Ready to answer the phone when you call on in. Couple of quick program notes. Our third hour guest today is Charlie Robinson. He's an author. He's got a new book out called The Octopus of Global Control, talking about the New World Order, globalism, this desire to drag the human race back to a feudal state where the elites own everything and we toil our lives away for their lords and ladyships' leave to simply exist. And we'll be talking about that. Friday, the lovely Lady Claire will be with us as usual here. So getting on into the news here, the Obamacare ping-pong ball is going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. They were going to vote to repeal and replace. That didn't work. Then they were going to vote to repeal. That got called off. They can't get the support. Donald Trump is basically out there saying this Congress can't do anything, and he's absolutely right. This is the most unproductive Congress in the last 164 years. And they are running out of excuses for not accomplishing anything at all. And it is rather disheartening to see the political leadership putting their partisan infighting above the needs of the country itself. Of course, there's an upside. The less Congress is doing, the less harm they're actually going to be able to cause out there. Donald Trump has now backed off demanding a repeal, at least for the moment, saying we're just going to let Obamacare fail. Meaning nothing will change. It's going to go on the way it is now until the whole system collapses, which could, in theory, take years. Then all of a sudden we got this news that President Trump is saying Congress should not leave for the August recess until they pass the new health care bill. And so Mitch McConnell is now saying that the vote on health care is again on for next week. And this time they really, 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 really mean it. Now, Rand Paul is out there saying that any Obamacare light replacement is just another establishment scam, and the only thing it's really going to do is choose whose pockets the loot is pouring into, and it will give the Democrats a chance to shift the blame for the mess onto the Republicans. You know, you got rid of Obamacare. This is Trump care. If it's not working, it's Trump and the Republicans. Now, apparently, down in Virginia, one of their senators is saying there does need to be a vote fraud investigation because something really big is starting to surface. So far in Virginia, they showed 5,556 non-citizens illegally registered to vote, and they in turn cast 7,474 votes. A Pew study found that over 1.8 million dead people were registered as voters, and 2.75 million people are registered to vote in multiple states. And it sounds like something does need to be done. And, of course, we now have these 14 states that are out there absolutely refusing to turn over voting data to Trump's Voting Integrity Commission, even though under federal law they are required to keep all voter information and surrender it to federal authorities on demand. So clearly, they've got something to hide. Now, last election day, it's come on out that down in South Carolina, their voter registration system was hit with nearly 150,000 hacking attempts, according to a recently released state study. And the State Election Commission found that all these hacking attempts occurred on November 8th, trying to break on in and change things around there. Election fraud is not something that happens rarely or occasionally. It's the permanent state. And it was so funny last year when Donald Trump came on out and said, there's a possibility of election fraud going on here. And Obama comes out and says, it's absolutely impossible to rig the American elections. And then, of course, Hillary lost. And the first thing they said is, Russia was rigging our elections. Russia's rigging our elections. And they go back and forth. And now that Trump wants to actually look at it, and it is, as his authority as president, he's got that right. And now all of a sudden 14 of these states are saying, we refuse to give you the data. The dog ate the voter records. I'm sorry, we can't give them to you. Now, do you remember Guccifer, the hacker who broke into Hillary Clinton's email server and said he found at least 10 other foreign IPs prowling around looking at information? And then he sort of went away, and nobody actually knows what's happened to him. Then there was Guccifer 2.0, and apparently information is starting to surface that like the Russia-Trump collusion, Guccifer 2.0 was a creation of the Democratic National Committee and the Hillary campaign. They needed a hacker that they could say, oh, this guy was working for Russia. Remember when they caught that hacker in Europe and the FBI went on over and said, we'll get you off the hook for the charges, we'll bring you to the U.S., make you a citizen, give you a bunch of money. All you have to do is confess that you were hacking the U.S. election system on behalf of Russia. And to his credit, the hacker said, no, I don't want to do that. Maybe he's thinking about all these people who cooperated with the Clintons and then when they were no longer useful, wound up dead in a suburban Washington, D.C. park. So through his lawyer, he put out the story saying, yes, the FBI asked me for a false confession of hacking the election on behalf of Russia, and I turned them down. We're going to do a quick shout-out to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. Now, among the other documents that WikiLeaks is letting out, there's a PDF. It's linked to the front page of whatreallyhappened.com, and the title of it is Troops, Trolls, and Troublemakers, a global inventory of organized social media manipulation. And this is a very scholarly work that basically tracks the evolution of online propaganda. How it originally started out where various political campaigns would have a few staffers that were out there trying to control social media or break into opposition websites. Now it's become big business. There are companies that's all they do. Is they plant people on social media to try and control the discussion there, cause trouble, and it's big business, along with the hacking of websites and so forth. Now, Sean Hannity is out there doing his best to try and revive public awareness of the Clinton scandals. The corporate media has been going, Russia, Trump, Russia, Trump, Russia, Trump, Russia, Trump, Russia, Trump, and now Hannity's out there saying, look, if you're going to have equal justice under the law, you have to reopen Hillary's email case now, and I'm fully on board with that one because there is still a very important unanswered question behind that. Given the Clintons' past history of Chinagate back in 1994, it is reasonable to ask if Hillary Clinton was, while serving as Secretary of State, selling U.S. secrets to foreign interests using her weak private email server to deliver the information and her so-called charitable foundation to collect and launder the payments. Because a lot of foreign money came into that foundation. That foundation only spent 6% of its revenues on actual charity, for which it should have its 501c3 status revoked, and the Clintons personally made liable for the taxes on all that money. That's an important question. It needs to be asked, and it deserves an honest answer. Now, remember, there was a story that came out in 2015 where the IT firm that backed up Hillary Clinton's emails on behalf of the Colorado firm that took over the server after it moved out of her house apparently had the emails stored on a cloud storage system designed to optimize data recovery. This is a company called Datto Incorporated. They had all the missing emails, and apparently in 2015 they turned them all over to the FBI. Now, a Republican Senate Committee chairman back in 2015, Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, asked the firm to provide the committee copies of any data from Clinton's account still in its possession. The important message here is apparently the FBI, under Comey, made all of these copies of the emails just go away. Remember, I said they have to be out there somewhere. Comey was protecting Hillary Clinton. That much was obvious. And the FBI was given copies of all those missing emails, and then it all disappeared. All right, we're going to grab a phone call here. Mike in a cabin someplace. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike, I'm thinking about energy today and Trump's energy plan.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, you know, we have a big pipeline going here north to south through Alaska.
Yes.
But it's basically empty. And I'm thinking that we need to really open up some of these areas, not all of these areas, and fill that puppy back up, and then also put it through Canada. We have a very short segment between the Alaska Railroad and what's existing already in Canada. So I would like Trump to revisit that, and also, the Canadians were going to build that heavy port in Vancouver for their oil, their tar sands oil, and we need to start with energy to bring back the manufacturing. I think that is Trump's agenda.
Well, it's an important part of the infrastructure here. The problem is, are they actually getting the volume of oil and gas out of the tar sands they thought they were going to get? The last I heard, all of these tar sands and shale projects were coming up short. They weren't getting anywhere near the volume of usable product that they had, the experts had predicted before they started this whole mess.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of economics on which forms of oil production is the most economical. I mean, the best is Saudi Arabia. They stick a straw in the sand and they get it out, but tar sands is pretty dirty and inefficient. But we have to get the energy rates down, because we have the second highest kilowatt hour rate here. I think you have the highest in Hawaii. Is that right?
It's fairly high, and it fluctuates on the basis of fuel prices. But again, the kilowatt hour price, it's not just the cost of the fuel. It's the amortization of the cost of the electric generation plant and various other costs associated with it. And a lot of the higher costs can come about through fiscal mismanagement by the company's executive board. So it's a complicated issue, and just lowering the price of the fuel oil may not have as much of an impact on your electricity cost, depending upon how expensive that initial power plant was.
Yeah, and I saw China is at 4 cents U.S. per kilowatt hour, I believe, residential, and the commercial is always a little bit lower. Now, that doesn't explain their manufacturing base completely, but pretty important little aspect there. And I think that if we really develop that, some manufacturing could either start or come back, not all. And then what Trump is doing with this Poland and talking to them about natural gas and things like that, I mean, if I was Russia, I wouldn't want them. I used to live over in Ukraine, Eastern Europe, and they're always fighting. They're always turning off these gas lines and these gas pumps. Who can pay, who can't? Basically, the Germans can pay and the Russians have it. Everyone in between is, trying to take some out of the pipe and do their own things with it. But if the U.S. had ships going that direction with LNG or oil or whatever they need, that would be, for Trump to be a Russian agent and then be the energy man who says, hey, Europe, want some of what we've got? That would be the worst. That would be blowing up in your face. It would be the epitome.
Okay, I understand what you're saying here, but I want to back up here, and then I want to get back on the current news here. To revive America, you can't just simply say we must do this first and the rest will follow. It really doesn't work that way. It's all going to have to be built up together. We start reviving manufacturing with the available electricity that we have right now, and then as manufacturing grows, we develop the energy infrastructure to support the growth of the manufacturing. One of the ways in which our country has really suffered greatly, and we see that no place more than our road system, is the infrastructure has not been enlarged to match the growth in population. And we certainly see that with the roads out here in Hawaii, which are still running on the volume of traffic as it was back in the 1960s and 1970s. And as a result, now we have tremendous congestion problems, which they're hoping the light rail is going to solve. I'm not that optimistic about it, so we're going to have to build them all up together. Anyway, Mike, it's a good thought there. We're going to have to let you go here. Thank you very much for the phone call. Getting on back to our domestic political news. As you know, following Donald Trump's electoral victory, Maxine Waters got on board this resist campaign. Resist 45, and she's been out there stumping and trying to get everybody out there to just oppose Donald Trump. And apparently her fundraising efforts on behalf of Resist 45 have been, for lack of a better word, abysmal. And she's out there attacking Trump for his bigoted travel ban, which has since been upheld by the Supreme Court. And again, it wasn't based on race, it was based on location. And then she's out there attacking Donald Trump for his support of President Putin, even as Putin continued his invasion of Korea. And no, I'm not misspeaking. That's actually what Maxine Waters said, that Vladimir Putin had invaded Korea. So I'm starting to wonder if maybe we do need competency tests to be in the United States Congress. When you look at some of the things Maxine Waters is saying and Nancy Pelosi's been saying, it's really silly. Now, there's a new wrinkle that's coming on out. Apparently, there is concern, this is coming from the Political Insider, that U.S. Postal Service employees broke the law by supporting Hillary Clinton. And we know the Democrats were bringing in foreign ringers to boost their voting polls. They were using government employees to do the same, even though it's a violation of the Hatch Act. And apparently the Office of the Special Counsel has released a report suggesting that the U.S. Postal Service Union broke the law by asking the postal employees to do work on behalf of the Clinton campaign in 2016. Now, normally, federal employees are allowed to engage in political activism when they're away from their place of work. But the union, in telling the employees you have to go work for Hillary Clinton, stepped across a very critical line. And again, it's another verification. Hillary doesn't believe in playing by the rules. Now, let's get on back to this Donald Trump Jr. nonsense, because it's rapidly starting to fall apart. Interest continues to center on this so-called Russian lawyer, Natalia Veselnitskaya. And email leaks from the State Department are showing that she has far more ties to the U.S. State Department than she does to Moscow. Now, remember, her so-called Moscow office has turned out to be little more than a shell. It doesn't have a website, doesn't have a phone, doesn't have anything working in there. It's there to have the address, yes, I'm in Moscow. And now Natalia herself is saying that she was set up and lured to that meeting by Magnitsky Act lobbyist Bill Browder. So this whole thing was a manufactured event. They manufactured a compromising meeting so they could scream Donald Trump Jr., Russia, 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 Russia. And now Natalia is saying that she's concerned for her life and her family, given how people who don't do what the Clintons want them to do exactly keep winding up dead under strange circumstances. And again, all of this is starting to just wear out for the American people. The corporate media has pushed this too much. The Hillary people pushed it too much. Latest poll is showing just 6% of Americans still think the Russia story is important. Not that they think it's true or false, just whether they think it's important or not. 94% of Americans don't think it's important. They're sick and tired of hearing about it. More information coming on out about Seth Rich, one of the aforesaid people who gets on the wrong side of the Clintons and winds up dead. Apparently, the FBI has been caught fudging some of the information. And one of the things they did was change the time officially reported for a break-in and weapons theft of an FBI vehicle, which happened after Seth Rich was killed. They've changed the time officially to before he was killed. And apparently there was a surveillance film that exists for the break-in incident in the car, and that has disappeared. And again, we know that there is a cover-up of some kind for one very simple reason. The official story is Seth Rich died in a botched robbery, and yet the police still have Seth Rich's laptop computer and will not return it to his family. So you just think about that one for a little bit. Now, turning on over to the war zones, emphasis on the plural, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham clashes with Arar al-Sham in Idlib province over there in Syria. And again, overall, the Syrian government forces are gaining ground. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
You've probably heard about all the great benefits of goat milk soap, but did you know some companies take shortcuts? At Old New England Soap, we make our organic goat's milk soap using 36% goat's milk. That's 17% more than most others. Our bars are larger, so they last longer, producing lots of lather packed with vitamins. And our soap is a natural moisturizer that smooths dry and damaged skin. Order online at oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. You've tried the rest. Now try the best. oldnesoap.com.
Water-based soaps on supermarket shelves use harsh chemical acids to break down dead skin cells. And that's just not good for you. At Old New England Soap, our soaps are made without chemical ingredients, contain no alcohol or petroleum products, and use 85% organic materials and carry the USDA's organic certification. Try some today. Go to oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. oldnesoap.com.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221, or go to the website angioprim.com.
Hi, folks. Let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply and, of course, the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic. And very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game. At the top of your game with getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Again, getthetea.com.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And Turkey has gone on out and basically leaked the secret location of U.S. troops in Syria, ramping up the tensions between Ankara and Washington, D.C. And basically, the state news agency in Turkey divulged the locations of 10 U.S. military bases and outposts in northern Syria, 2 of which were supposed to be top secret. Needless to say, the Pentagon is very angry after Turkey leaked out this information, and they're saying it's hard not to see this as an FU from Turkey. Yeah, I can see where that might be the perception there. Meanwhile, article coming out of Novinite.com, satellite photos are revealing the long-term U.S. strategy for Syria. All these bases that are going on in, and basically there is a huge military base the United States has built in the northern part of Syria near the city of Kobani. And it's now used as the main logistics base of the U.S. military in Syria. All of this without the permission of the Syrian government. And what it is indicating is that the United States government plans to remain in Syria even after ISIS and Al-Qaeda, the supposed reason for the U.S. to intervene, are long gone. Now, this whole situation over the Russian diplomatic properties has unraveled. It looked like the U.S. was going to say, we're going to give you back your properties and try and smooth things over. Then the U.S. came out with a bunch of demands, which Russia couldn't accept. Lavrov is saying the U.S. government is acting like a bunch of gangsters, and he may be closer to the truth than he realizes when you look at the narcocracy at the heart of it all. But apparently CNN reported late Monday that the Russian government was almost at a deal on getting back their property. The Russians rejected the report, saying that the U.S. must return the seized property without any conditions on it. And it's interesting to see the corporate media here right now, because it's still all about the 2016 U.S. presidential election campaign. That was the reason Obama seized these diplomatic facilities and ejected 35 Russian diplomats. And do you remember back when there was that whole idea where the Earth was actually the center of the cosmos and nobody dared challenge that prime assumption, and everything that followed, all the discussions, all the debate, all the math and everything, had to be centered around that fiction? We're seeing exactly the same thing today with the corporate media, with that idea that Russia hacked the election. That's become the prime article of belief, not to be questioned, around which all discussions and articles are going to be framed. And, of course, remember that whole Earth at the center of the universe is history's longest-running scientific goof, and this is just another one. The attitude is, this is given as an absolute fact beyond question. Well, yeah, I question whether the Earth is the center of the solar system. I question if Russia hacked the election. There doesn't seem to be any evidence in favor of it, and quite a bit of evidence against it. But again, as Mika Brzezinski said, the job of the corporate media is not to give you information and facts. It's to control what you are thinking. And I don't know about you, but I resist the idea of having somebody else control what I am thinking. I sort of dig my heels in on that one, and so should you. Russia has started delivering more humanitarian aid to Yemen. They're bringing in food, medical supplies. Basically, according to a United Nations report, 60% of Yemenis, 17 million people, are currently in crisis or emergency food situations. They are being starved to death by the Saudi blockade. And apparently the U.S. government is fully on board with this. This is collective punishment. This is a war crime. It's genocide. When enough people starve to death, it becomes a genocide. So Russia and Putin are trying to alleviate the suffering of these people. They're sending in food and medical supplies while the U.S. sends in more bombs and bullets. But, of course, we can never see Vladimir Putin as a good guy, and so over on the Express, they ran this absolutely desperate, pathetic article to try and demonize Vladimir Putin, saying that he likes to take baths in blood extracted from deer antlers. And they're saying it's an ancient Russian tradition to drive the testosterone, which he does seem to have a lot of. And again, it's just out there saying, oh, look what he does to these poor deer and everything. Now, I don't know about you. I've hunted deer in my distant youth. There's not a lot of blood in those antlers. They're just making this stuff up. They're scraping the bottom of the barrel to demonize Vladimir Putin. We'll be right back with a phone call.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read a few from Amazon.com. Dr. Sam Serino reviewed the Extendivite product. Good ingredients, feeling much better since taking product. It seems that the tablets work well. Once again, thank you for your product. My acid reflux has really improved thanks to the Extendivite. Together with my thumb joints, the pain is gone and I'm able to grip things much better. My friend has peripheral arterial disorder and their lower legs were hurting in a red color, but thankfully there has been a significant improvement. Kind regards, Janice. My husband feels a big difference using Extendivite. Thank you. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
NutriMedical's Power C Plus is the greatest important breakthrough in vitamin C technology since Linus Pauling. It is the only neutral pH vitamin C in the world as a calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium ascorbate salt with bioperin, a black pepper extract, to increase absorption by 40%. When you take Power C Plus, it helps to alkalinize all the cells of your body instantly, raise the oxygen level and energetic level of cells, suppress cancer and inflammation in your body, and help you fight infections. Power C Plus also helps to build up the collagen in your body, hyaluronic acid in your joints, and the glycosaminoglycans in your joints, as well as to improve healing of any tissue in your body. Power C Plus is very unique at NutriMedical.com. That's NutriMedical.com, where you can order, or 888-212-8871. That's NutriMedical, NutriMedical.com.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus magful clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. We're going to go to the telephones. Jeff in Minneapolis. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Okay, well, I'd like to talk about this case where the lady called the police and was murdered behind her house.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm a taxi driver for like 35 years. And over the last 15 years or so, the Somalis have basically moved in, and they're everywhere in Minneapolis, and they've taken over the taxi business. And there's a problem because if a lady walks, somebody works downtown and comes out of their job at 8 o'clock at night and walks up to a line of taxis and goes to the first taxi and says, I'd like to go home. And they're mentioning an address in Minneapolis to a licensed Minneapolis taxi that's lined up in a cab stand by the city of Minneapolis and says, I want to go here. And it's like $8. And the driver says no, because that's not good enough for me, and has an outburst, like get away from me. You know, what do you think? You've got to go for $30 or $40 to the airport. And most women now, they don't even try the second cab, or they'll wave at a cab that's going by the other way. Or a lot of them use Uber. And so there's this cultural thing. And here's the deal.
Well, hold it. That is hardly unique to Somali drivers. I mean, we see the same thing here in Hawaii, where, you know, if you hail a cab and you're only going a couple of blocks, they're really not interested. They want to, like, go to the airport or come back, or, you know, and we don't have a lot of Somalis here.
In the taxi line, though, the rules are you can ask them where they're going and say, fine, hop in. And let's go. Or you can say, no, I don't want that ride because I've got to go pick up somebody a different part of town. And then it's their obligation to drive away to let the next driver be the first in line. But they won't move. And we have a problem where if a lady is gagging a ride home, and most of the business is medical charge accounts, taking someone home from a clinic to their home. And the map, if you use the GPS, takes you right to the door of the apartment. But a lot of drivers won't use that, and the lady will say, stop, that's my apartment building. And they won't stop because they refuse to take directions or corrections from a woman driver.
Well, you see, that sounds to me like there's an enforcement issue there. I mean, if the state is or the city is going to have a government-controlled taxi operation, it looks to me like they're not doing a very good job about it.
We call it in the few old American drivers call it the Somali exception, because the cab business is at its bottom line a scheme to rent cars by the day or week. And they're not really driving the cab more than just kind of as a hideout or a dodge. And anyway, we have a real problem here in the cities because people can't get served. I know of a lady that goes for dialysis 3 days a week. She has to be on the machine for 3 days, and she's waiting an hour to two to get picked up and missing most of her appointment. But the business is renting cars, and that's going great because they have oodles of money. And a lot of it is because they can't get or hold a job or don't want to hold a job.
Well, that doesn't apply. That doesn't apply here. Okay, it sounds like you're calling up and you want to bash the Somalis because the taxi cab business is kind of in a mess. But in terms of this Officer Noor who did the shooting, he actually had a very high-paying career before he decided he wanted to be a police officer, and he took a major pay cut to move over and be a police officer. In fact, that's what broke up his marriage, because his wife had gotten used to his very fine salary and all the perks and living fine, and he said, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to be a police officer, and he went and did that. So we're not talking about somebody who's just sitting and doing nothing. This guy was motivated enough to have this high-paying career, and then he was motivated to become a police officer. So I don't think you can compare the two.
But he pulled out his weapon and shot right across the lap of his partner into this lady that was probably leaning down and talking. Like you said, the guy should have gotten out of their car and talked to the lady outside the car. But he basically shot across the lap of his partner and shot this lady right in the belly.
Well, again, that's why I want to know if this officer was on prescription antidepressants, because behavior that is just that makes so little sense. You do find it in these individuals who are using, these SSRIs are coming off of them, where just they'll be fine one moment and all of a sudden they'll just get an impulse and they'll go with it. And I think it's a very important question here. Now, the city of Minneapolis is now trying to claim that he may have been responding to the sound of fireworks nearby, forgetting, of course, that fireworks are illegal in that state, and who would be setting them off this far away from July 4th? Anybody who smuggled in illegal fireworks would have used them on the 4th. So I think they're looking for some kind of a reason to try and get this guy off. And as of right now, though, he's refusing to talk to investigators.
And we're going to have the Super Bowl here this year.
Okay.
So come on down, and it's going to be a mess because we're not ready for it. With our infrastructure is because all the money for the normal things that the city should do has been diverted to take care of the newcomers.
No, I understand. That's true all over the United States.
The media won't talk about it. You know, I've talked to reporters, and actually one calls me, but they say, this is too hot, we can't touch it. We can't touch it. And what happened is, years ago, they had Somalis driving around the courthouse for hours, which got a lot of media attention, and so the city kind of backed down. It's a mess here. It really is.
No, I agree, but I think the problems in general with the refugee open border program, I don't think that they apply here. Because this particular individual, like I said, he's the kind of immigrant that you would want to have. He came in and he had this high-paying, highly skilled job, and then all of a sudden he decided he wanted to be a police officer. And so he literally gave up his high-paying job to become a police officer 2 years ago. He was apparently applauded by the mayor of the city. And there was apparently a couple of complaints against him, one of which appears to have been politically motivated. But for the guy to just be sitting there and all of a sudden, with no provocation whatsoever, pull out the gun and pull the trigger on this, again, I have to ask, was this guy on prescription antidepressants? That's the only thing that makes any sense to me at all. Anyway, listen, Jeff, I'm going to let you go. I need to get back to the news here. Thank you very much for the phone call. Okay, now, as you know, Russia, the United States, and Syria hammered out a ceasefire deal for a portion of Syria down toward the south, and Netanyahu started stamping his feet, rolling around on the ground, kicking and screaming, saying, no, you can't have peace unless you make me happy with the deal. And Konstantin Kosachev, chairman of the Federation Council's Committee for International Affairs, is basically saying Netanyahu is going to have to learn how to live without a war against Syria. Now, Israel's motives are, of course, very obvious. They want that Golan. They've been functionally in control of it for a long time, but they're very concerned that Syria is going to say, we want our land back. And that's why one of the reasons why Netanyahu wanted Assad gone, because whoever was going to be installed as the new puppet ruler would be told simply, you will let Israel have the Golan. That's part of the price of you getting to sit in that center seat. And so that's what's going on down there. Now, Netanyahu, like Maxine Waters, like Nancy Pelosi, is starting to show his age, and he's starting to make some really bad goofs, because apparently he had an incident with an open microphone where he came on out and admitted Israel is carrying out dozens of attacks against arms convoys in Syria, and was oblivious to the fact that the remarks were being picked up by a live microphone and relayed to reporters. And even more embarrassingly, during that same session with the open microphone, Netanyahu basically just launched a withering attack on the European Union, saying that the European Union will wither and die if it does not change its policy toward Israel. And that is not going to make anybody happy up in the EU. Even Haaretz is running an editorial saying Netanyahu is finished. Apparently that corruption charge is just too big to ignore, too big to bury. And a lot of people in Israel, both ordinary citizens and even within the government, think Netanyahu has been there way too long, and he's caused Israel, and for that matter, the Jewish people of the world, a lot more harm than good. Meanwhile, the clashes are continuing at the Temple Mount complex. The IDF are thankfully using rubber bullets, but 30 people have been injured in the clashes since Israel decided to restrict access to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, supposedly in response to a Palestinian attack. Now, over in Iran, as you know, Trump wanted to kill the P5+1 deal. Then he came on back and he recertified it. Then he followed up with more sanctions against Iran over Iran's missile development program, which was never a part of the P5+1 deal. And of course, the IAEA is saying Iran is in full compliance with the P5+1 deal. The United States is not. They have not removed all the sanctions that they promised they were going to remove. They're just adding more sanctions on top there. So the Iranian president is saying that there's going to have to be a response of some kind to all these new sanctions. And that may be Iranian sanctions against the United States. But all of these sanctions are going to do is drive Iran even further into the Russian-Chinese sphere of influence. I don't know who in Washington, D.C. thinks that if we slap around a country hard enough, they're going to start to love us. Because they're not. And the Iranian government is out there saying right now the new sanctions are the biggest threat to the P5+1. And maybe that was Trump's move. More sanctions, get Iran to pull out of the P5+1 deal, make them the bad guys. Now, the commander of the Islamic Revolution Guards Corps, Major General Mohammed Ali Jafari, has said if the U.S. wants to pursue further sanctions, then maybe the U.S. ought to start moving their bases at least 1,000 kilometers from Iran, pointing out the fact that there are no Iranian bases sitting on U.S. borders. Meanwhile, Iranian officials are sending a message back saying, stop worrying about us. Your government is about to collapse. And I agree with them on that one. In fact, all of this warmongering and threatening in all these other countries may be a desperate attempt by the central federal government to distract Americans from the very obvious signs of an impending collapse. Pay no attention to the crumbling infrastructure and the hunger and the homelessness and all the rest of it. We've got to glare at the Russians and the Iranians and the Chinese and the North Koreans and whoever else we're going to put on our special high-interest targets list. Wouldn't be the first time in history where a country that was on the verge of collapse distracted their own people by threatening or getting into a war. And it didn't work out very well there. Meanwhile, as you know, we have been hearing about these ongoing border incursions between China and India and how India has retargeted some of their nuclear missiles away from Pakistan and toward China. So we're seeing this article today out of antiwar.com where China is saying they are ready for a long-term war with India. And Chinese forces are holding an increasingly large series of live fire training drills in Tibet, reflecting the soaring tensions with India. There are way too many people in positions of power in this world who see war as their best option out of the mess they have created. All right, let's take a phone call. Ramsey in Canada, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, sir. How are you?
Fine.
Sir, I have a question about that police officer. You said that he might have been on antidepressants or drugs or whatever.
No, I'm saying it's a question we need to ask because we know that those drugs... We know those drugs are dangerous. We know that police, on average, take more of them than ordinary citizens. And it's important to understand because what he did makes absolutely no sense at all unless he would just had an impulse he couldn't control.
But see, sir, here's my question. I want to ask you. When a person becomes a police officer, doesn't he have to go through the training and do a medical and a physical test, and a blood test and all that?
Yeah, but if a doctor has prescribed these antidepressants, he's allowed to take them. See, that's the problem. These medications are very profitable, and so the idea that they might be dangerous is downplayed, and they are officially allowed for police officers to use them. Like I said yesterday, Congress actually held hearings about the dangers associated with prescription antidepressants, and they chose to do nothing about it because those pharmaceutical corporations write very generous campaign donation checks every election season. That's literally what it comes down to. The health and safety and security of the American people is subordinate to the need for more campaign contributions with which to hang on to their jobs. We may literally be drugging ourselves into the edge of insanity. If you look at all the bizarre behavior we're seeing all across our society, just things that we never saw when we were younger. And you're wondering, what's changing? Are we all collectively going crazy? And is it, in fact, pharmacological?
Yeah, but see, sir, I don't remember any time recently that a police officer did such an act like that.
Well, there have been a lot of cases where police used excessive force, and it was kind of a gray area, and people were saying it really wasn't justified. There's been a lot of that going on. In this case, it is just clearly, there was absolutely no question that this woman in her pajamas presented no threat whatsoever to the officers. Obviously, the driver of the car didn't think she presented a threat, and so this officer, Noor, just pulled his gun and shot her point blank in the stomach and killed her. And now he's refusing to talk to investigators.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're going to let you go. Thank you very much. No, there is an issue there. There is a question. I mean, look at it this way. Look at all the chemicals corporations put in your food to make you eat more and buy more so that they can make more money, even though it's causing an obesity epidemic in this country. So the fact that they would sell drugs that are actually making us violent, as long as it makes money, they're going to go ahead and do it. We're going to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Hey there, quick question for you. Would you be okay with more energy, more endurance, thicker, healthier hair, a better mood, reduced appearance of wrinkles, improved sleep, improved blood pressure and cholesterol profiles, improved vision, improved memory? Okay then. Well now, have you heard of Nature's Youth RSF? It's from the anti-aging experts at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. See, at Nature's Youth, they understand exactly what it means to provide top quality health products. And Nature's Youth customers not only improve their health, they know they're also providing their body with the right nourishment to maintain that peak performance and fight the aging process. If health, wellness, and nutrition are what you desire, choose Nature's Youth RSF. I did. You see, you're going to get older. It's just up to you how you feel when you get there. Get started today. Nature's Youth RSF. Simple to use, simple to order. Go to nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com.
It's time for you to have your own custom smartphone app for your business and pay way less than you can imagine. Introducing the I Can Get To Silent Salesman mobile marketing app, a global mobile marketing and communication tool for your business. Go to appsapart.com and learn how you could earn up to $36,351 or more per month just by inviting 2 people or less into a $14.95 per month program. Go to appsapart.com and be sure to watch the video at the top of the site and listen to the audio message from the CEO near the bottom. This is something you won't want to miss. Go to appsapart.com now or call 646-860-9540. That's 646-860-9540. Get the I Can Get To. That's ICANGET, the number 2, Silent Salesman app at appsapart.com. That's APPSAPART.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington, too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. I must admit lately I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the 7 seas, yeah, I want to be a pirate. I want to do...
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, and we're going to go ahead and take another phone call. Terry in Oregon, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, there's a lot of elderly people that still have a mortgage on their house, and they've got this anxiety about, if the dollar is worthless, I'll stop getting my Social Security check and I won't be able to pay my mortgage.
Oh, yeah.
And they're afraid they're going to get kicked out. And I heard one time that during the Depression, they put a freeze on all foreclosures because people didn't have the money to pay their mortgage. I don't know. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, they did that at one time, and also when Nixon was president and the economy was starting to react very badly from the end of gold convertibility, there was a wage and price freeze that was imposed by the government. Whatever you were making today, you're going to go on making. Whatever you were paying for your rent, you were going to pay that same amount. And they sort of locked the economy in place until they could try and get things a little bit more stable. So, yeah, there's precedent for that before. But again, there's going to come a point where there are enough homeless people out there in the streets, it's going to trigger a reaction because you have younger Americans who have seen their parents grow up and they've got the mortgage and they're retired and they're in the home, and all of a sudden the bankers are kicking them out. That's going to do two things. It's going to enrage these people to see their parents being treated that way. And two, it's going to destroy any confidence that by playing by the rules, by doing what you're supposed to do, that you're going to have a stable retirement. Right now, the American people are very dispirited. They don't see hope for a better life down the road under the current regime.
Right. And but the line of thought of these people is, I'm getting a Social Security check now, and that's going to be cut off when the dollar's worthless. So they're not going to have anything coming in. And I tell them, I said, the banks don't want all these houses. They don't want to kick everybody out, and they got nobody to sell them to. So there might be some relief there.
Well, it may even happen faster than that because we're nearing the crossover point where Social Security is going to be paying out more than it takes in. And again, all of this goes back to the Bill Clinton administration, where he basically took the cash buildup for the baby boomers and spent it as general revenue, and he replaced them with these special treasury bonds so he could call it a loan, but they can't make good on those bonds. In fact, there are a lot of people who are saying the baby boomers are probably going to be the last generation that actually get benefits from Social Security. That's how dire the situation is.
Right. Okay, thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. Getting on back to the news. Venezuela vows to continue with creating a new Congress despite threats from the United States of America. And this is President Nicolas Maduro has stated these plans for a new Congress despite the threats of a U.S. intervention or economic sanctions. And again, it's not the United States' business how Venezuela organizes its government. This is just another example of the United States going on in and say, you will run your country the way we want it run, and we want a single leader because that's going to be easier to replace with a puppet regime. If you've got a whole legislature, well, then it makes it much more difficult to take over your country. That's really what it comes on down to. All right, we're going to take a break for station identification. We'll be right back.
It's time for you to have your own custom smartphone app for your business and pay way less than you can imagine. Introducing the I Can Get To Silent Salesman mobile marketing app, a global mobile marketing and communication tool for your business. Go to appsapart.com and learn how you could earn up to $36,351 or more per month just by inviting 2 people or less into a $14.95 per month program. Go to appsapart.com and be sure to watch the video at the top of the site and listen to the audio message from the CEO near the bottom. This is something you won't want to miss. Go to appsapart.com now or call 646-860-9540. That's 646-860-9540. Get the I Can Get too. That's ICANGET, the number 2, silent salesman app at appsapart.com. That's APPSAPART.com.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. We're going to take a phone call. Yvonne in New York. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi. Aloha. I had a question. I wanted to know if you had ever heard of a group called MOA, Muslims of America. Supposedly they have 22 groups scattered throughout the country. And the government says that they're not terrorists. They haven't put them on a terrorist list. But last year in the Catskills, about an hour away from where I live in New York, Alex Jones sent a crew to investigate the group, and they said, oh, they're doing bad stuff. And then supposedly about a week ago, they're saying that one of their members was caught shoplifting bullets. So they were able to do a raid, and they found all sorts of guns and stashes and weapons. I mean, I'm a conspiracy nut, but I think it sounds like a CIA, you know, like that Jonestown cults that they had all over the country in the 60s and 70s. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, I have heard of them, and I've heard the story. Apparently they were raided. The first thing I thought of in listening to how this thing was set up, it reminds me of those secret CIA training bases down in Louisiana that were preparing for that second invasion of Cuba, and Kennedy had to shut them all down.
That's a CIA. That's what I thought. It sounded like a CIA because the guy who they arrested, he was in 1977. He was apparently arrested in Brooklyn for robbing a candy store, and somebody died, and he was in jail. And I can't get the information, but they said that he was released shockingly quickly, and all of a sudden he's part of this Muslim group, you know. And how does a gangster from Brooklyn at age 22 in jail, no education, no nothing, all of a sudden become part of this, you know, this secret group? And, yeah, okay. So I thought the same thing. It sounded like a CIA deal. And that's kind of interesting that InfoWars got involved in it last year. And I wonder if there's, like, a war between FBI, CIA, because a lot of times it seems like a member of the FBI or CIA does something, and then somebody else in that department doesn't like it, and they shut it down. And anyway, that's it.
Okay, well, but I agree with you. It does feel like it's one of these secret training camps set up by the CIA to basically create a crisis, you know, like a Muslim invasion of America. But you know something? Were that to happen, were that to be the next false flag, it's going to backfire on them tremendously, because the American people are going to be saying, well, who let all these Muslims in to the country in the first place to cause all these problems? Well, yeah, U.S. government, George Soros, and all of those. Thank you for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Linda in Massachusetts. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Michael. How are you? Hello?
Yes, you're on the air.
Oh, good. I said, how are you? Okay. So I wanted to know, did you clear up what was said yesterday that this police officer didn't have any problems prior to the shooting? He did.
There were a couple of complaints against him, one of which appears to have been retaliation for a complaint he made against another officer. So it's a little bit murky, and I understand from talking to police around.
I try to not just take one newspaper article or one blog. I try to cross and look through a few and see what consistent information I can get. And what I got from about 3 articles yesterday was that there's 3 complaints. One is sealed, The one from 216 is sealed, not to be opened. That's what I read in.
Okay, well, that sounds like administrative. Usually when they seal a complaint, it has to do with improper procedures, not necessarily by the officer themselves here. But again, Occam's razor, it all comes back down to this guy had absolutely no reason at that moment to pull his gun and pull the trigger. It's even if you look at those other complaints, they're not a complaint of he pulled his gun and shot at me. It was more along the line.
One is a complaint of being kidnapped by the police. I mean, that's one complaint. She was taken out of her home, and she had mental health problems, and her arm was twisted and blah, blah. That's one of the complaints that is open from 2017.
Well, again, we're looking at an area. If she's got mental issues, she may have, it may have been a wellness check. But again, if you found a complaint somewhere where it says this guy pulled his gun without any apparent reason and threatened somebody, I'd say maybe there's an issue there. But Occam's razor is coming on back to this known problem with the SSRIs and the antidepressants. And I'm sorry, but that's the simplest, most reasonable explanation. Linda, thank you very much. We're going to let you go here. Thank you very much. Going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. And I know the pharmaceutical industries don't want this issue brought up. But if you go over to whatreallyhappened.com and take a look on down, members have been posting these videos about all these people whose lives have been ruined by these prescription antidepressants, all these doctors who are saying these things are dangerous. There is a problem. We could, like I said earlier, we could literally have a nation whose population is being chemically driven to bizarre behavior, all in the name of the almighty dollar. And there's a question there, and it must be asked. Congress wanted to ask, but they were bribed to basically ignore it. But there's a real issue there. And like I said before, we know that corporations are perfectly willing to sell us food full of chemicals to make us eat more so that they can have more profit, even though it results in the obesity epidemic. We understand that corporations are literally ordering us to buy and use vaccines, which are usually ineffective and in many cases very dangerous, causing a lot of harm, but it doesn't matter because it's making money. So is it really that difficult to imagine marketing and selling these prescription antidepressants, even knowing they are causing bizarre behavior among a susceptible portion of the population? Remember, all of those gun grabbers, almost all of those gun grabbers, the mass shooters, almost all of those mass shooters being wagged at us by the gun grabbers were either on or withdrawing from these medications. And it's when you're withdrawing, you are most at risk of just flipping out. Now, we don't know about all the mass shooters because more recently, the government and the corporate media have taken to withholding the information about what medications they were on this idea that even dead people have got a right to privacy. It's all about protecting the profits of those corporations. I have personal experience with how dangerous these medications are. But we live in a country where corporations are allowed to sell dangerous products as long as it makes money and they pay the appropriate taxes and they write nice campaign checks to their favorite politicians. That's just the reality of where we live right now. And it just doesn't make sense. This guy wanted to be a police officer. He gave up a higher paying career path, which resulted in his wife leaving him. She liked all the money. Didn't want to be the wife of a police officer. And he was on the job for 2 years, and he's just sitting there, and all of a sudden, for no reason, there was no gun was found. There's no way to say that this girl in her pajamas was any kind of a threat. And he just pulls the gun and fires. The simplest explanation, Occam's razor. He's on prescription antidepressants, and for whatever reason, his brain got the impulse to fire, and he couldn't stop it. So, now then, getting on back to the various news here. I was rather surprised to find out our State Department had a war crimes office. You would think they'd be very, very busy these days with all the war crimes being committed by the United States. But apparently it's not going to be a problem anymore because Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is shutting it all down. We no longer have a State Department office looking into war crimes. After all, it might get embarrassing out there. Flashback from 2007. The Pentagon has lost $2.3 trillion with a T dollars. I want that money back. Cynthia McKinney was out there basically. And, of course, we know since then that the actual number is considerably higher than that. And we may still not know how much of your money has poured into that Pentagon and just flowed out to who knows where. They're not keeping track of it. They don't need to. Only people who only have a little money and a lot of bills keep careful track of their spending. When you have fountains of money pouring all over you, well, it's just, it's coming in at the top, we spend it out at the bottom, and we don't need to keep track of it. We're never going to bounce a check. Over in Great Britain, members of Parliament from the Defence Select Committee have demanded the British military come up with the full costs of the F-35 warplane deal. They know what the planes themselves are going to cost. Now they're just becoming aware that the planes, as delivered, are going to need lots of upgrades and patches and add-ons that are going to be very expensive, and they want to know exactly what they're getting into. Russia has unveiled a fully automated combat module which can operate autonomously and identify targets on its own. In other words, it's right out of the Terminator movies. They must be watching James Cameron over there in Russia. Apparently, this device is able to identify enemy targets and engage them all on its own. Let's talk about the economic news here a little bit. Russia's largest bank makes its first transaction on the Shanghai Gold Exchange as Moscow and Beijing prepare for trade in gold. They're settling accounts back and forth in gold, using gold. No paper notes, certainly not the U.S. Federal Reserve note. And I'm sure over at the Federal Reserve they're out there saying, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do that by the rules we just made up. And we're still seeing a lot of wet work out there in the world of high finance. Apparently, Miguel Blesa, who was the former head of the now-defunct Caja Madrid Savings Bank, and he was awaiting the results of an appeal to a 6-year prison sentence for misusing corporate credit cards issued by the infamous Bankia, which is another defunct bank. Apparently, they were out at this private club, and all of a sudden, people around heard a gunshot blast, and they found this banker dead with a shotgun blast to the chest, which tells us pretty much right there this was not a suicide, especially when there is no report that the shotgun itself was actually recovered here. In the United States, the cable TV companies are in a panic. 793,000 subscribers have cut the cable, so to speak. Streaming is now the thing. It's much more convenient. People on a busy schedule, they can't actually watch that much cable TV. They use the DVR. Well, why have cable TV and DVR when you can just go to online streaming like Netflix? And the only reason we're still hooked in with our cable provider is we've got a bundled deal with our high-speed internet, which isn't as fast as we were promised. And by the way, ever since Spectrum took over, our bill has gone right through the roof. Now, as you know, there's been a big wringing of hands and gnashing of teeth over the troubles affecting the real estate market. Young people are not buying homes. And somebody only just now figured out the correlation between young people not being able to buy their own homes and the fact that they're still struggling with those student loans, because the high-paying jobs they went to college to acquire are not there. And it's another example of everybody thinking about their own little agenda, their own little business, and nobody looking at the overview. Because somebody looking at the overview would have seen that if you load down these college graduates with these incredible student loans, they are not going to be part of the economy in a larger sense. They're spending all their work paying off the student loans. They're not buying homes. They're not buying cars. They're not going to the shopping malls. There is too little money at the bottom of this economy for it to function. But the money junkies cannot let go because they're addicts. Looking at their behavior, I would say that probably money is even more addictive than heroin. More and more states are saying that the retirement age has to go up. They're now talking about 68. And again, in this country, the reality is the vast majority of Americans will never retire. They won't be able to. And that's certainly going to be the reality for Claire and I. And a lot of other Americans. That promised life that the government told you were going to get when you were young, you're not going to get it. They lied to you. I even remember when George Carlin, when he was talking in that routine, The American Dream, he said they want it all. Now they want your retirement money. And he was right. Bill Clinton stole the retirement money of millions of American workers, spent it as general revenue. That's where he got his magic federal budget surplus. By embezzling the retirement money of the American worker. That money was your money. It wasn't the government's money. You were forced to trust the government with your retirement money, and they misspent it. And now they're out there saying, well, it's your fault. You're living too long. You shouldn't be living as long as you are. So, Wells Fargo Bank has announced they're going to shut down 450 branches. Doesn't look like they're doing very well at all. And another cryptocurrency effort has hit a problem over at CoinDash. They were trying to get that started up, and apparently Monday, $7 million was stolen by hackers. And that is putting more strain on the trust in crypto trading world. And again, look at the sheer volume of economic damage being done by these cyber criminals. Where's the NSA? Where's the FBI? Where's the CIA? Isn't it time they actually did something useful that would benefit the American people? Are they the hackers? Is this another version of civil forfeiture to plunder the wealth of the people to keep a desperately broke and hopelessly in debt government going? Or are they merely totally incompetent? Now, Sir Christopher Mayer, who is a former ambassador to the U.S. from Great Britain, is out there saying that this idea that Great Britain has to pay a divorce bill before they can negotiate the Brexit is nonsense. Because if you read Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty, Great Britain is allowed to negotiate all of the issues of the Brexit at the same time, including what the divorce payment will be. But we know what's really at issue. Brussels understands without that huge chunk of money coming in from the British taxpayers to prop up the EU is going to collapse because Germany cannot carry that load all by themselves, especially with the imposed costs of all the refugees that they're having to carry as well. I would be very surprised if the EU made it to the end of the year. Now, as you know, most migrants trying to sneak into Great Britain basically hide out in trucks, which are then sent across either on ferries or through the Channel Tunnel. But somebody came up with a really novel idea, trying to smuggle migrants from France to Great Britain by ultralight aircraft. And apparently 4 Albanian migrants tried to fly from France to Britain in a light aircraft. It's believed to be the first of its attempt, but nobody really knows that. And the 4, who included 2 women and a child, were arrested in Calais before they could take off. Apparently, last year, 629,000 visitors to the United States overstayed their visas, according to Homeland Security. And basically 1% of all travelers. And they remained in the country after overstaying their visas as students workers, or tourists. All right, there's the music. Can barely hear it, and we'll be back after these commercials.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Extendivite is more than just a heart tonic. Most basic diseases are caused by yeast in the gut and metals in the liver, and we all have a bit of both. The garlic in Extendivite has a yeast-killing effect in the gut while also helping the sulfur enzyme in the liver get rid of the metals. Extendivite just may improve your overall health. Products like Extendivite are the only way we are going to get our society healthy. And if you're waiting for the government and pharmaceutical care to solve your health problems, you're going to have a long, disappointing wait, I think. Extendivite is a complete formula for extended life in the new millennium. 80 can be the new 60. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite. We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Now, we have hundreds of U.S. immigration agents deploying to the sanctuary cities. There's a confrontation coming on up between the state and the federal governments. And again, all of these mayors and governors declaring sanctuary cities and refusing to allow the federal government to enforce Title VIII. They are in criminal violation of Title VIII, and they should be going to jail. And Attorney General Jeff Sessions is saying our goal is to end illegal immigration, and it can be done. Eisenhower did it with his Operation Wetback, and he did it with about 1/10 the resources available to Donald Trump. And I know the GOP budget is still going back and forth over the cost of Donald Trump's wall. And again, I don't think a wall is really needed as long as you are enforcing the Title VIII laws that are already on the books. You cut off the financial incentive. And you simply tell those people, you step across that border, you will not be able to find work. There will be no free handouts. Nobody will be allowed to house you or give you rides or anything without going to jail. And in fact, the flow of illegal immigrants across the border has slowed considerably ever since Donald Trump won the White House. And now we need to basically find those illegals and send them back to where they came from. And I'm sorry if the country they're coming from is not doing very well. Ours isn't doing very well. And what they ought to do is basically just go back to their country and reform things. Now, getting on back to that tragedy in Minneapolis where Officer Noor shot Justin DeMond, you have to wonder about the corporate media. The Washington Post has responded to this tragic shooting of this woman, expressing their concern that the fact that the officer who killed her was a Somali is going to feed the Islamophobia. And I understand that is a valid concern because I don't think Islam or Muslims had anything to do with it. I think it was a pharmacological effect. But at the same time, let's have a little compassion for what happened. Let us remember that police brutality and killing of innocent people has been out of control for quite some time. The police culture seems to tolerate it or encourage it. There's been another incident. Fortunately, it was non-fatal, but apparently there was a high school graduation out in California, and there was a video taken where a police officer grabbed a 52-year-old woman and literally threw her to the ground. What was her crime? She was selling flowers at the high school graduation without a permit. I remember when I was a kid, the basic rule was that you could do anything that you wanted unless the government explicitly forbid it. And now we're in a situation where you can't do anything unless the government gives you permission for a small fee. But that was an inappropriate reaction to flowers. Now, I have often commented about the abuses of the civil forfeiture laws and how the police are actually stealing more from the American people than the thieves and burglars and robbers. And as a matter of fact, the numbers actually back me up. Somebody has actually done a study in 2015 and found out that the police confiscated more than $5 billion from the American people under civil forfeiture laws. Most of those people were not charged with a crime. And apparently that exact same year, losses to burglary were only $3.5 billion. So if you get into trouble, call a burglar. You're going to get off a lot cheaper, I think, here. All right, let's take, no, we're too close to a commercial. We're going to hold that phone call off until after this next commercial break. But the civil forfeiture is a problem. And again, it was originally created to serve a very useful purpose, but it has been turned into a racket. And unfortunately, thanks to Attorney General Jeff Sessions, it's about to get a lot worse. We'll be right back after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
Extendivite, a 7-herb combination of garlic, cayenne, hawthorn, bilberry, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Extendivite is designed to strengthen the heart and arteries and help the body heal itself. Doctors are not able to explain the improvements they are seeing in their patients' health who are taking Extendivite. People who once needed more pills are now taking less and getting better. Due to the unexplainable improvements in their patients' health, more doctors are calling to order Extendivite for themselves. Help Extendivite make your doctor a believer. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Now, we're talking about civil forfeiture. No, actually, we're going to take a phone call first. Tom in Florida, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, good day to you, Michael. Another great show, and you're always right on the money. Yeah, Michael, what I want to say is I want to talk about, first I was listening to Michelle Malkin earlier, but before I get there, I want to talk about this resist, hate, resist, these demon rats are throwing out over there at the Senate chambers. And I'm finding out these people are getting paid $1,800 to go protest over there, and if they get arrested, they get an extra $1,000. So these people are basically, George Soros is paying these people to protest, the senators, with the health care bill. So these people actually do go, when they go to jail, they're end up getting like $2,800 to go protest. And that should be in the media every day, that these DEMA rats are getting paid this kind of money by Soros's organization. And then, it's unbelievable. These people are protesting what? Obamacare's falling flat on his face. It's a disaster. Like Trump said, Trump's 100% right. Let it fall on his face. Let it implode, and the DEMA rats will own it. But, getting back to that, Michael, after I go there, I want to talk about Michelle Malkin. She brought something that really kicked me hard. When she was talking about this guy, Bill Kristol, has more love for Chucky Schmucky Schumer than he does Donald Trump, and he's supposedly like a Republican strategist, whatever Kristol is. But you know what? Michelle Malkin's right. He never brought up the fact what Jonathan Pollard was doing with Israel. But here, Russia, all you hear is about Russia with Trump. But in the meantime, you had this guy Pollard to me the biggest treason ever perpetrated on this country, and you never heard no Kristol or none of these schmucks talking about what that was going on in the state of Israel, listening and doing everything they can to subvert our country. I mean, all you hear is about Russia and Putin. And Michelle Malkin's 100% correct. This guy Kristol's off his chain. This guy's a nutcase. He's a total mental whack job, Bill Kristol. And this guy, he'd rather kiss the butt of Schumer than he would Trump. It's unbelievable to me.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. And the corporate media is not going to tell you about how these protesters are being paid, because it's all part of the same big theatrical presentation to try and control what you're thinking. And the reason we're seeing how obvious these things are is because they have lost control of what we are thinking. And they're desperate to try and get it back because, again, if that's the business of the corporate media, as Mika Brzezinski said, to control what the American people are thinking, and they're not able to do that anymore, then they're going to have to give up those very expensive paychecks that they're getting and go back to living like ordinary people. They'll have to go out and find real jobs.
You're talking about Mika, the one that had the chin job? She had a big chin job, and her boyfriend looks like Max Headroom. But, Michael, going back to what Michelle was saying, this guy, Bill Kristol, would rather have the deep state run our country than Donald Trump or Hillary. This guy, Kristol, was actually praising the deep state. And here he's the guy supposed to be a strategist for the Republicans or whatever he is. I don't know what that guy actually is, Kristol. But here, this guy's supposed to be like for the Republicans, and he's going to stab Trump in the back like this, and then he's gonna talk about how the deep state's way better than Donald Trump or Hillary. Unbelievable.
Well, again, you need to understand that the hardcore Republican establishment, in particular the neocons, they don't see Trump as one of their own. And so, yeah, they are quite adversarial, and this is the reason they blockaded his attempt to repeal and replace Obamacare. Again, they're trying to set things up for 2020 so somebody can come on in and say, well, look, Donald Trump couldn't get anything done, so let's replace him. The deep state, the narcocracy, lost their iron grip lock on American politics on Election Day last year. Trump's a wild card. He could still open up and start exposing all the drug connections and all the other stuff that's been going on in this country for the last 30 years. They don't trust him to stay silent. And that's why they're desperate to get rid of him by any means, fair or foul. And again, these Republicans, they're not loyal to the president. They're loyal to the narcocracy.
Michael, I have to say one more thing. And I know you don't like to hear this. I think I brought it one time before, and you went off it. But what really does bother me, too, about the media, they never, ever went and had a real all the networks had a thing with this Danny Williams Clinton when Trump was running a 6 months ago. They never really went and they talked about this guy, Bush, with the video of Donald Trump with the girl. But they never talked about when this one reporter went up to Clinton and said, are you still paying child support to Danny Williams Clinton? They never would air that, Michael. They only aired it one time. And Bill Clinton was shaking his head like, yes, he's still giving Danny Williams Clinton money, for child support. Hillary said, if you do that one more time, I don't know what Hillary's going to do to him. But you never hear about that anymore, about this Danny Williams Clinton. Could you imagine if they were to run that for 24 hours on all the major networks, that Clinton actually is the father of that kid?
Well, and again, the hypocrisy is very obvious. They're focused on Russia, Trump, Russia, Trump, Russia, Trump. Meanwhile, Russia gave Podesta's company $35 million. Russia poured $100 million plus almost $200 million into the Clinton Charitable Foundation after Hillary Clinton helped them seal that Uranium One deal. There's all kinds of stuff out there, and the corporate media will not report it. They are fully on board with protecting that deep state narcocracy against us ordinary serfs and Donald Trump, who they see as an outsider. And, of course, that's the reason we voted for him. He was an outsider. And so it really is, we're seeing a cold civil war between that narcocracy and the rest of the American people.
Right on, Michael. Michael, do you remember what Casper Weinberger said to the media when what he wanted to do to Jonathan Pollard?
I don't recall.
He said, I want to take him out in front of the White House, and you know what? Casper Weinberger, who was the Secretary, I guess, of Defense at the time under Reagan, I think it was Reagan, or I can't remember Reagan. Yeah, I think it was Reagan or Bush. I can't remember. He said, I want to take this guy. This guy committed, Casper Weinberger said this guy committed the biggest treason that he's ever heard of in the history of the annals of our country, the United States.
Well, I would have to maybe say that the Rosenberg selling of the nuclear weapon secrets to the Soviet Union might trump that a little bit. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. What Jonathan Pollard stole and gave to Israel, and then Israel turned around and traded to the Soviet Union in exchange for increased immigration quotas for Russian Jews. If the U.S. and Russia had gone to nuclear war at that moment, the United States would have lost.
Thank you, Michael. That was it. And you know what? The media will never let that out because it would shake the foundation of the country like it's never been shook. That's for sure.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We're going to let you go here and switch over to George in Texas. Aloha, George. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. Howdy from Texas.
Howdy.
I've been sitting there reading about the trial of the Bundys out in Las Vegas. And what I'm hearing is like the prosecution and the judge sort of like cut the defense at the knees, not even allowing Cliven Bundy to choose his own attorney. This is a speech with Roger Stone.
It's a kangaroo court is basically what it is.
It's just the thing is, it's like, and they're calling on Donald Trump to pardon, and this is what a pardon is used for. It's not to let your buddies off the hook who are criminals. A pardon was designed for if due process was violated, and it was a kangaroo court. The president can pardon the person.
Yes, but now it's a payoff to political cronies. Remember when Clinton pardoned Mark Rich, and everybody said, "Oh, it's an obvious payoff." Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
But the thing is, it's more like the Bundy case. Sure, like it just outlines the actual abuse of the government and how they made rules and laws to protect themselves from the people, and how they made laws to limit the weak and protect the strong. And this Bundy case involves Chinese land grabbing. Harry Reid. It's just so much corruption around this thing. I hope Trump pardons them. There's one more person I think Roger Stone should have mentioned, because remember up in Oregon, they were protesting the Hammonds going to jail because they served time on an arson charge because they set a controlled burn on their own land to keep a fire that the BLM started from hurting their property, and they went to jail, but then the BLM took them in federal court. Now they're serving two prison terms on the same charge, and that's double jeopardy. And
no, it isn't, because one was filed at the state level and one was filed at the federal level, and unfortunately that can and does happen. Normally prosecutors, if you've already been convicted and sentenced at the state level, federal prosecutors won't bother. But if it is politically motivated, then they're just going to dogpile on you. But double jeopardy only applies within the same legal jurisdiction, state level versus federal level.
But still, I think Trump should pardon. Because,
I think Trump should pardon the Bundys. I think Trump should pardon Edward Snowden. I think Trump should pardon Julian Assange. I think Trump should pardon Leonard Peltier. I think Trump should pardon Mumia al-Jabbar and all these other people who are victims of the political corruption of this country.
And the thing is like I really think when this thing comes to a head, it's going to be very ugly. And if it does start violently, my gut feeling is it's not going. The feds are going to be in a disadvantage. It's not going to be on the ground of their own choosing, and that's a sad thing to say, Mike, because they want the war. And believe me, like I say, be careful what you ask for. And if they're going to ask for it, but guess what? They're going to be caught when it's going to be happen when they're flat-footed, when they're not at an advantage. I mean, it almost happened at the Bundy Ranch.
Yeah, it was rather interesting that the might of the BLM and the various other forces, they did back down in the face of a determined armed citizenry, which of course is exactly the reason we were given that Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is not about hunting, it's not about target shooting, it is about giving the government the reason to leave us alone. Because that's the way this country was set on up, where government was supposed to leave you alone unless you clearly had done something wrong. That's the reason for the Fourth Amendment. It's the reason for the Fifth Amendment. Unfortunately, our government does not play by the rules anymore. It has descended to absolute tyranny. It's arbitrary in its decision-making. And unfortunately, Donald Trump has been, if he wasn't corrupted by the system before, he certainly is now.
The thing is, I thought that Jeff Sessions was a good pick for Attorney General, but now I think he should step down because a lot of ways he's a throwback. He's marshalling his resources to go after pot smoking and medical marijuana.
Oh, it's worse than that. We were talking about the civil forfeiture. As you know, some states are starting to pass laws saying that you cannot take somebody's money until they're convicted of a crime, and Sessions is trying to reverse that. He wants a federal law that says the police can basically take your money even if you're not convicted of a crime, even if you're found not guilty. And it's just a cash grab.
Well, the thing is, I would ask Jeff Sessions to resign and go retire, and I would ask Donald Trump to appoint former federal prosecutor, former Congressman Bob Barr.
Oh, he would be a good AG. He would be a very good AG.
Because I think he knows how to balance the needs of the justice and the Constitution, which we need. We don't need a throwback to the, we don't, because Jeff Sessions is too much of a throwback in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? He's prejudiced over marijuana, and it's like, I never seen somebody carjack my car for marijuana, but I see him try to do it for crack. So,
yeah, that's absolutely true. But again, Sessions' war on marijuana has nothing to do with crime. It has to do with, again, protecting the profits of the alcohol industry and the tobacco industry. We are in a state of being a fascist economic dictatorship where government authority and corporate greed are aligned together against the general population. And so every decision made by that government supports the corporate profitability, clearly at the expense of what is best for the general population.
Well, about a month ago, I did have surgery because I had a tumor in my bladder. I had bladder cancer. I had a tumor removed.
Ouch.
I took a little bit of chemotherapy. I didn't take the doctor's prescription. I actually had marijuana-laced brownies to alleviate my nausea, which worked a lot better.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we're starting to look at medical cannabis as an issue out here, and fortunately, as it turns out, there is this what's called CBD, which is the non-intoxicating part of marijuana, and apparently that is legal to own and use all across the country, and it's got all kinds of medical benefits. But they don't want you to know about that. The whole goal is to keep you dependent on the big corporations. They don't want you to be able to grow your own food in the backyard. They don't want you to be able to grow your own medicines. They don't want you to be able to collect your own water. Everything that you need has to be acquired from a corporation. It's enforced dependency, and it's exactly the same thing King George III did to the colonials that led to the American Revolution.
Well, these monopolies will collapse in time because nobody will go to their company store no more. Well, thank you, Mike.
All right, well, thank you. We'll let you go. Unfortunately, the reality is, and we're already seeing this in the vaccine industry, the government is literally ordering us to buy products we do not want and do not need. And that right there is telling you we live in a dictatorship. All right, let's start with Sherry in Texas. I may have to take you through the commercial break. Sherry, what's on your mind today?
Okay, Mike. I agree with you. The drugs. This has to do with the lady in the pajamas and the bizarre behavior by the police.
Yes.
And I agree very much the drugs have to do with it, but there's an additional possibility here that I thought about, and I don't know if it was back in February 2016 or not, but it was about back that far. And I thought about this then. There were 2 stewards on 2 separate airline flights that lost it. And it was very bizarre because they were trying to get the people to exit the airline, and they were saying, we're going to be bombed. And these were responsible employees. Now, within a short period, this was within a short period of time, they had one incident with a steward, another incident with a steward, and then there was a lady passenger that became irate, and I don't think that was related in the same way. Now, we never heard from these airline employees again to find out what caused this really bizarre behavior way up in the sky and they were in charge of all these people. And I came up with the idea of hypnosis, and I know something about hypnosis. I've never been hypnotized.
Okay, I used to practice hypnosis back when I worked as a professional magician. I learned how to hypnotize, and the effects of hypnosis are overblown in film and TV. You cannot force somebody to do something that is inherently against their nature. Otherwise.
Say.
Yeah, so again, I don't think we're dealing with a hypnotized police officer here. Sherry, we're going to let you go. We're coming up here on the commercial break. We'll be right back.
Are you still looking for that one iodine that you can really trust? A medical doctor endorsed product that is backed by honest research and true integrative science. Then search no further. Go to NutriMedical.com for Dr. Bill Deagle's Nutriodine, proven time and time again to be the very best iodine available for you. Nutriodine is the only Tesla-activated monatomic plasma iodine in the world. It optimizes mitochondrial function and generation of new mitochondria, from totally neutralizing the venom from a desert recluse spider bite in Southern California to eliminating malaria parasites reported by medical missionaries in central India. Dr. Bill's Nutriodine is simply the most powerful healing formula there is. Nutriodine clears the body of all known pathogens, restores it to an alkaline state, and even promotes stem cell regeneration. Order Dr. Bill's Nutriodine today at 888-212-8871 or visit us online at NutriMedical.com.
You've probably heard about all the great benefits of goat milk soap, but did you know some companies take shortcuts? At Old New England Soap, we make our organic goat's milk soap using 36% goat's milk. That's 17% more than most others. Our bars are larger, so they last longer, producing lots of lather packed with vitamins. And our soap is a natural moisturizer that smooths dry and damaged skin. Order online at oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. You've tried the rest. Now try the best. oldnesoap.com.
Water-based soaps on supermarket shelves use harsh chemical acids to break down dead skin cells. And that's just not good for you. At Old New England Soap, our soaps are made without chemical ingredients, contain no alcohol or petroleum products, and use 85% organic materials and carry the USDA's organic certification. Try some today. Go to oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. oldnesoap.com.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877 928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far 5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. Let's take another phone call. Lenny in Los Angeles. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Doing fine.
Hey, I just want to make a few points here. As for, I don't know if you noticed, but the last couple of days, the corporate media is starting to pose questions about Donald Trump's physical health. And is he physically fit to continue running the country, looking at the diet of McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken and everything else that he supposedly eats? But I've seen this in more than one source. So they're already setting the stage for a possible soft assassination attempt. Okay? Two, the second thing I want to talk about is Turkey's big FU to the U.S.
Yes.
For revealing the special forces over in Turkey. Well, what I see here is this is a result of a lot of karmic buildup for the violent coup attempt that the U.S. tried against Erdogan back last year. I don't know if one would be inclined to agree, but that's just the way I see it. Now, as far as Trump's appointments, as Sessions and all the others he's tried to appoint, he's finding that in these appointments, there really are no men. He and Putin are about the only 2 men among so-called men left. And when it comes to statesmen, what you have are men with physical appearance but no physical attributes to get anything done. Now, the fourth thing I want to say, and I think one of the most important things, is the guy who called in a couple of calls ago about William Crystal. I don't know if he I don't know if you knew this, but William Crystal is the great-grandson of Leo Trotsky of the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia.
I did not know that.
What does that tell you? What does that tell you?
Yeah, I was unaware of that.
Okay, that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, well, you're welcome. Getting on back, yeah, I've been seeing all these stories all of a sudden, and this is more of the same thing where Donald Trump is mentally unstable. We've got to get him out on the 25th Amendment. Now they're trying to say, oh, well, he's too old for the job, like Hillary wouldn't have been, and he can't keep it up, and they're still trying to figure out some way to destroy the Trump brand in the minds of the American people, and it's failing miserably. His numbers are going up. The corporate media's numbers are going down. And again, they're trying to destroy the brand. They're trying to make it so that people don't feel sympathy and support for Trump ahead of some more dramatic means to get him out of the Oval Office. And I fear greatly that if they're not able to impeach him, get him out under the 25th Amendment, or force him to resign, yes, they will try and kill him. It does seem to be headed that way indeed. Okay, we're coming up on the top of the hour. I've got callers waiting on the line. I'm going to wait until after we go into hour number 3 here. Meanwhile, over in Baltimore, a little bit of an embarrassment. A police officer tried to plant drugs on the house of a suspect, walked down the alley, put the drugs down, walked back, turned on his body camera, then went on back, pretended to search, found the drugs, and they went to do the arrest. Didn't realize that when you turn on the body cam, it automatically saves what happened for 30 seconds before you turned the switch on, and so the video captured him planting the evidence. So, again, bad cop, no donut. We got to take a break for station identification. Back with more phone calls after these few words.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. We're going to go right back to the phones here. It's hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Rick in Arizona, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike, I'm just talking about that cop, saying that he might have been under the influence of prescription drugs. That would be saying, well, the police department was letting him work while he was under the care of a psychiatrist, because that's the only place you're going to get prescription drugs, right?
No, you can get prescription antidepressants from an ordinary doctor, and again, because it's considered okay in the medical industrial complex, police are allowed to take the same prescription drugs as anybody else until somebody officially says there is a danger here, and people in a position to cause harm carrying a gun, police, security guards, whatever, should not be allowed on these medications. They're going to still be allowed to use them. Right now, the way the system is set up, there is no reason, or there's no mechanism for saying police officers on duty carrying a gun should not be allowed to have these medications. And therein lies the problem. As long as the link between these medications and violence is being suppressed to protect the profitability of the pharmaceutical companies, these kinds of tragedies are going to continue. And the cases where death or mass shootings happen make the news, but we know there are other correlations. There's a strong correlation between the penetration of these drugs into the American marketplace and the increase in per capita instances of domestic violence. And I'm trying to collect the data regarding road rage, bar fights, and other less lethal forms of aberrant, erratic, spontaneous violence, because I think there's a case to be made there, and I'm not the only one. Congress did see a reason to hold hearings on this, but under lobbying efforts from the pharmaceutical industries, they chose to do nothing. And because of that, it was perfectly legal for this Officer Noor to be on these medications as long as they were prescribed by the appropriate medical practitioner.
Okay. Now, the Minneapolis Tribune is reporting that the driver's side police officer was fearing an ambush, and she may have been a decoy. Now, there's a lot of tension in Minneapolis right now, and so I'm going to go with this as a possible false flag to balance the scales and give the black community some satisfaction.
I'm going to go with the Minneapolis Police Department is trying to come up with any kind of a story that's going to save them from a multi-million-dollar civil lawsuit. Yesterday it was fireworks. Yesterday they were saying, the guy responded to fireworks, and then somebody pointed out fireworks are illegal in that state, and so now this idea, he was afraid of an ambush. Okay, they're trying to protect themselves from a civil lawsuit at this point. And I want an answer to the question if this Officer Noor was on these medications, if for no other reason than to rule them out.
Yeah. Well, at least the blacks got some satisfaction out of it.
I don't see how that.
There's a lot of tension. That cop shot that guy last year, and Minneapolis is a pretty dangerous place for cops right now. I'm just saying.
I'm not buying it. We're talking about an Australian woman in her pajamas. It doesn't really feel right to me. All right, Rick, we're going to let you go. Thank you very much here, and we're going to switch to James in Anaheim. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, long-time listener of about an hour, first-time caller. I'm sorry I've never heard of you before, but you're amazing. Thank you very much for bringing me on. I'm totally ecstatic that somebody turned me on to you.
Thank you.
2 things to load up. You're welcome. 2 things you could load up in your mental database: Seth Rich and Natalia testifying. In regards to Seth Rich, add Kim.com, because at a certain point, Kim.com said, "Hey, I have proof to that Seth Rich, his code name or his username or whatever was Panda, that he was the Podesta WikiLeaks." And expose all that information. Of course, he's dead now. So that's one question. Do you believe that? The question really is: do you believe that there needs to be a more thorough investigation? That's one question. In regards to Natalia testifying, it almost appears as like she can't wait. She's baiting these guys to bring her in front of Congress so she can make fools out of the DNC, which I can't wait for. Do you believe that's kind of happening right now? That's my second.
Okay, well, let's start with the first one. First of all, there are other indications that Seth Rich was the leak of the DNC Podesta emails to WikiLeaks. For one thing, the leaked emails stop just before he was murdered. Second of all, Kim.com had the confirmation of that. Some of Seth Rich's own family came on out and said that he had told them he was the leak. Of course, they're now all being hushed up around there as well. But somebody did a forensic analysis of the meta tags on the files that were leaked and discovered that they'd been copied far too quickly to have been copied over the Internet by Russia or anybody else. They had to be copied by somebody who had access to the actual physical server. And so that's another confirmation right there. As far as an investigation, I would love to see it happen, but you can understand there are so many people who want this issue to go away because the DNC has bet their credibility on Russia hacking. Hillary has bet her credibility, what little she has left on Russia hacking. The corporate media went along with this story for month after month after month. If it comes out Seth Rich was the leak and was murdered for it, they're all going to take a major credibility hit. And they don't want that to happen. Plus, there's that other aspect behind it that it's going to renew interest in all these other scandals surrounding Hillary Clinton. First and foremost, that email server. And Sean Hannity is right to be out there pushing for that right now. Moving on to Natalia, the lawyer. The last word we have is that she has basically said she was set up for that meeting as well by this Magnitsky Law lobbyist. And she's feeling like she was suckered into this. So this whole meeting was a manufactured incident. The day after Hillary lost to Donald Trump, they sat around and came up with this Russia stole the election for Donald Trump, and they needed to manufacture evidence to support that. And this meeting was one of their attempts to do so, along with attempting to bribe this arrested hacker in Europe to admit he was hacking the American election on behalf of Russia. And they offered him, get out of jail free card, bring him to the United States, buy him a home, give him a bunch of money. And he turned them down to his credit. But we know this is how it operates. They come up with an idea and a story, and then they manufacture the evidence to say, see, this is what's going on. Except at this point, nobody in the United States of America is going to take anything coming out of the corporate media or anybody in government at face value. We have been made utter fools of before the eyes of the world too many times, whether it was Saddam's nuclear weapons or Assad's sarin gas or torpedoes in the Gulf of Tonkin or all the rest of it. We don't want to be fooled again. And we need to be very, very skeptical. And so, again, the polls are showing only 6% of Americans even think this Russia-Trump story is important anymore. They're losing this fight. And they don't know what else to do, so they're going to keep on pushing this nonsense.
It's disgusting, it's shameful, it's degrading, and we look like fools to the rest of the world. Hey, thank you so much for letting me ask those questions, and I'll be listening to you more often.
Well, thank you very much. We're going to let you go here and close the phone lines. We're going to do a shout-out to our on-air affiliates rejoining our network. Now then, do you remember all of that Black Lives Matter, the rioting, the ruckus that they were making, especially after Hillary Clinton lost, well, it's starting to have a backlash on all of those institutions that went along with it. And over at the University of Missouri, the backlash from Black Lives Matter has been a major drop of new enrollment. Young people do not want to go to a university to be caught up in political infighting. They want a degree that will get them a job. They're starting to understand that they're not likely to get that. And so apparently between 2015 and 2016, enrollment at the University of Missouri dropped 23%. And for the coming fall term, it's dropped another 16%. It's estimated this is going to cost the University of Missouri $14.5 million, and the university is already starting to lay people off in response to that. Now, political correctness has just gone way over the shark. And I apologize if I'm using the wrong gender pronoun for the shark, but that's just the way it is. Apparently, the International Olympic Committee is abandoning gender testing and will allow men who think they are women or who've gone through the surgery to compete against real biological DNA women in all events. Now, the reality is that having the surgery and taking hormones to grow breasts does not turn you into a woman. Genetically and biologically, you are still a man with the inherent strength advantage over women. We were hearing just a couple of months ago about this man who thought he was a woman, allowed to compete in women's wrestling, and to nobody's surprise, swept the championships. And this is a case where this idea of gender fluidity is just getting to the point of ridiculousness. The Olympics are supposed to celebrate the best in athletic competition. And it's become another political battleground. And I can imagine right now there are a lot of young women who are training for the Olympics who are just realizing, I should just quit. It doesn't matter how hard I work or how much I train. If there's some guy who thinks he's a woman who's allowed to compete against me, I'm going to lose. It's ridiculous. It is utterly ridiculous. Now, apparently the United States is not the only place that is having an issue with election fraud. Apparently, over in Great Britain, the Electoral Commission is warning of a troubling rise in voter fraud and suggestions that Labor could have been boosted by students voting for them twice in the recent general election. Apparently, students are legally allowed to register at both their university address and their home address. They're only supposed to vote in one location, but nobody is checking for it. And apparently somebody did a survey, and some of the students did admit that, yes, they voted twice in both locations. Apparently, violence over in Baltimore has reached a point where this 44-year-old mother has come up with a symbolic gesture. Erica Bridgeford has basically come on out calling for a single murder-free weekend, trying to impose a 72-hour truce just once to establish that it can be done. So why are all our cities engulfed in gun violence at a time when supposedly guns are being controlled? Look at Chicago, the model of gun control in America and the murder capital of the entire country. Well, interestingly enough, an ex-Chicago gang member has come on out, did a video statement saying what's going on is in the gang-controlled areas, somebody is literally dumping crates of guns in the alleys, not just semi-automatic, fully automatic Class 3 firearms. And he's alleging that it is the U.S. government trying to kick off urban warfare to justify the declaration of a national emergency and gun confiscation. And if you look at what the U.S. government was doing with Fast and Furious, the U.S. government was gun running to ISIS and Al-Qaeda in Syria. It's not beyond the realm of possibility that that's what's going on here. Okay, let's get into science and health here. Apparently, State Representative Craig Hall of Utah is basically out there pushing for a law that will allow children to use sunscreen at school without a doctor's note. Up until now, students going to a school, if they have some kind of lotion or whatever, they have to have a doctor's note. And this state representative says, no, we shouldn't have that. Students should be allowed to use sunscreen at school without a doctor's note. I wonder how much stock in the sunscreen companies State Representative Craig Hall happens to own, for two reasons. First of all, if you're in school, except when you're out there for physical education, you're indoors. You don't need sunscreen. And by the way, they admit that this state representative is an unabashed proponent of sun protection. Best sun protection, big hat, put on some clothes. And the other aspect, of course, is we know that a lot of these sunscreens have dangerous chemicals in them. What they're trying to do is get these little kiddies into the idea of slathering on the sun lotion all the time to turn them into dedicated, loyal consumers of yet another questionable product. And speaking of questionable product, this is over at this store, apparently TV station WTVD did a study and found out that makeup being sold to tweens and little girls actually contains asbestos. And they're saying, are these cosmetics safe for girls and teens? And I would add to that, adults. Because the cosmetics companies have a little bit of a loophole they like to use. Because cosmetics are external, they are not subject to the same stringent requirements for ingredients and safety as food would be. But it's a myth that cosmetics stay on the outside of your skin because the body is very porous. If you ever take a physiology course, one of the experiments they will do is rub garlic on the bottom of your foot and then time how long it takes for you to taste it in your mouth. And so all of these chemicals being put on the skin of these children, it is getting inside them. So apparently tests were conducted on these products at a private lab in Greensboro, North Carolina, and asbestos was discovered in this product called Just Shine Shimmer Powder. Now remember, it can take 10 to 40 years for symptoms of mesothelioma to appear. These teens and girls may already be in trouble and they don't know it. Won't know it for a while. This is getting a little bit dangerous here. An FDA panel is recommending approving a leukemia treatment that actually alters the genes of the patient. And it sounds like the stuff of science fiction. And given how recklessly genetic engineering has been conducted to date, there is another potential problem here. We're talking about the FDA allowing medications that when you are given them, they will change your DNA for you. And apparently a panel of cancer experts who are probably financially involved in this product endorsed the leukemia treatment on Wednesday. And apparently the FDA is not required to follow the panel's recommendation, but usually does. Now, over in Great Britain, their government is getting ready to pass a law that outlaws any advertisements showing gender stereotypes. Apparently somebody called up and complained about a commercial showing housewives cleaning and children playing with gender-biased toys. Now, as somebody who's worked in advertising and produced and directed TV commercials, I'm going to tell you right now, there's going to be nothing to work with in terms of creating a story for the commercial. Because the commercial has to be entertaining. It has to involve the viewer, or it's simply not going to be effective. You have to lure them in. And what are you going to do? Go against the gender stereotypes? Have the husband cleaning the house? It's actually going to turn off both women and men. There have been all kinds of studies that have been done throughout the years by the advertising industry showing that most people have a psychological comfort with the stereotypes they grew up with. But again, liberals are still clinging to that belief that if they change the environment, they can change your brain. Even though it has been disproved, even though Margaret Mead's Coming of Age in Samoa, which started all of this stuff, has been revealed as an intellectual fraud. They still keep pushing on this idea. Okay, we're coming up here on a commercial break. When we come on back, we've got some stuff about computers. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443. We're going to try and switch machines and get a better sound quality connection over this next break. So we'll be right back.
The new word on the street is bloated. Yeah, you eat this food, GMO, herbicide, pesticide. Foods aren't safe anymore. And then we eat them and we're bloated. Our stomach says, no more, Seymour. So what we have to do is drink the tea. Are you on the tea? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Super strength tea. It will help you with the new word, bloated. You can get it today. Log on to GetTheTea.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Do you or someone you know suffer from chest pain, blood pressure, cholesterol, or irregular heartbeat? Are you looking for a more natural solution to overcome these health challenges? You hear the ads all the time. If this stuff's so good, why doesn't my doctor prescribe it? That's easy. Doctors are not trained in natural medicine. Extendivite Heart Tonic does want you to be as healthy as you can be, and it really works. Take Extendivite for 6 months and your doctor will say, I don't know what you're doing, but don't stop. It's working for you. Get the dependability of Extendivite. Just see how you feel in 6 months. A 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid is only $69.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women and children alike.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go to the phones. Sean in Seattle. Sean, aloha. Welcome to the show. What is on your mind today?
Hey, how's it going, Mike? Just wanted to mention that I haven't heard you talk much about the net neutrality or whatever, and I was just wondering what your take was. I don't fully understand it. I know that they were trying to, the internet is a different thing, but I know they're trying to just suppress the internet like they're trying to make it into like TV, like cable, where it's like you can only watch or see one thing or whatever. But anyway.
Okay, well, basically, in brief, net neutrality, as the internet began to grow, net neutrality was a principle that all carriers had to carry all traffic, and it came out of a principle called common carrier, which was itself a result of the breakup of the Bell Telephone Company into the regional telephone companies, and arguments over whether this telephone company had any obligation to carry the traffic originating at this telephone company over here and ending at this telephone company over here. And so it was established that, yes, all of the telephone companies, although they were broken into separate companies, the telephone system had to be run as a single network with equal access to everybody. And, of course, that was a good idea. Net neutrality was a continuance of the same thing. Now, the idea, they want to get rid of net neutrality in order to provide a fast lane on the internet that will be available to content providers willing to pay the fee, such as the streaming video people and so forth. And obviously, for small websites like myself, we would be relegated to the slow lane. And so it's basically taking the internet and prioritizing it for the benefit of large corporations.
Which is devastating. I mean, this is horrible.
Well, it may be the reason why I'm not getting the broadband speed that I'm paying for out here under Spectrum. But, of course, Spectrum's already been sued by the state of New York for advertising so much bandwidth and not being able to deliver it.
Right. So what's Donald Trump's take on or side on this? Because I heard he agrees with he's trying to get rid of net neutrality.
Okay, he's not trying to get rid of it. He originally was on board saying net neutrality should remain. It's the large corporations and the corporate media and the internet service providers themselves want to get rid of it in order to make more money and to have more control over what computer users are seeing and doing, to run more commercials, to sell more movies, and so forth and so on.
Okay, so that's just going to be on the back burner until they figure it all out, or when's the final say on all that?
Well, the final say is the FCC has basically ruled net neutrality no longer exists, and we're already starting to see a very obvious disparity in the quality and bandwidth of service between these large content providers and the smaller operators.
Wow, so I know people have asked you this before, but it's like, what, I'm sure. It's like things don't look like they're doing so good right now. I mean, it's like I try to tell all my friends what's going on, and that people need to be, vigilant and know they need to pay attention on what's going on and everything. And I mean, it doesn't look like Donnie Boy is winning too many battles here.
No, he is definitely corralled and controlled. We know his own people are lying to him. We know for a fact that the CIA lied to Donald Trump and told him it was beyond a doubt Assad had gassed those people at Idlib, and Donald Trump went and launched that disastrous cruise missile attack. And Donald Trump is hardly the first president who was being lied to by the CIA in order to manipulate him. They were doing it to John F. Kennedy. And they lied to Kennedy about the Bay of Pigs. They lied to Kennedy about Vietnam. And we have too many people at the tops of these intelligence agencies who think they're actually running the country. When J. Edgar Hoover was in charge of the FBI, he called his own office the seat of the American government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
So Trump needs to go on the offensive. He needs to get aggressive. He's got to regain the initiative, and he needs to understand that loyalty in Washington, D.C. is not automatically to the person who is signing your paycheck and who is nominally your boss. There are lots and lots of hidden allegiances all over the place. And Trump, again, he was as naive coming into the White House as Jimmy Carter was. We got to take a break here for commercials. We'll be back with another phone call after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
You've probably heard about all the great benefits of goat milk soap, but did you know some companies take shortcuts? At Old New England Soap, we make our organic goat's milk soap using 36% goat's milk. That's 17% more than most others. Our bars are larger, so they last longer, producing lots of lather packed with vitamins. And our soap is a natural moisturizer that smooths dry and damaged skin. Order online at oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. You've tried the rest. Now try the best. oldnesoap.com.
Water-based soaps on supermarket shelves use harsh chemical acids to break down dead skin cells. And that's just not good for you. At Old New England Soap, our soaps are made without chemical ingredients, contain no alcohol or petroleum products, and use 85% organic materials and carry the USDA's organic certification. Try some today. Go to oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. oldnesoap.com.
Do you have difficulty taking supplements? Are you searching for a high-quality, complete nutritional drink that your whole family will love? NutriMedical's Life Support has arrived. All of your daily nutritional requirements in one quick, delicious drink. Dr. Bill Deagle's Life Support is a proprietary blend of vegan protein, activated vitamins, essential minerals, amino acids, probiotics, green tea, digestive enzymes, anti-inflammatories, cancer prevention, detoxification, and much more. Your body will high-five you for this one. Life Support is the best complete nutrition meal replacement on the market. Whether you are an elite athlete, have post-operative challenges, chronic illness, elderly, or a family that just wants a quick, delicious drink, try Dr. Bill Deagle's Life Support for optimized nutrition in one great tasting smoothie. Just add cold water, almond milk, fruit, or anything else you like. NutriMedical's Life Support. Try our great tasting chocolate or vanilla today. Call 888-212-8871 or visit us online at NutriMedical.com. NutriMedical.com for the whole family.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. We're going to go back to the telephones here. Tony in Puerto Rico. Aloha, Tony. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, aloha, Mike. Listen, Mike, I have a two-part question. You just answer it the best way you can.
Okay.
My first question is this. What did Adolf Hitler gain besides power going after the Jews and other minorities? My other question is this. If Joe Kennedy Sr. wasn't such an appeaser, would he have been President of the United States?
Well, in answer to your first question, the Nazi Party made use of an old propaganda mechanism, which is to have a scapegoat group within your society on whom you blame all the problems. In our society right now, it's the Muslims. And it's just a way of a government ducking the blame for their own mistakes, stupidity, and bad behavior. And Hitler targeted the Jews because at that time there was a lot of hostility in general toward the Jews, who were seen as having profited unfairly from Germany's woes during World War I and the aftermath under the private central bank. So it was easy to make and demonize them as a scapegoat device. So that's what Hitler got. Was somebody to blame for all the problems while he took credit for all the good things for himself. As far as Joe Kennedy, no, I don't think he could have run for president because of the connections between him and organized crime. Would have been dragged on out by anybody that he ran against. So Joe Kennedy, basically his political ambitions were by proxy through his sons, John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, and Ted Kennedy, who were not connected with any of the rum-running activity and therefore were politically clean. The only thing John F. Kennedy had going against him was he was a womanizer. He'd already gotten a reputation around Washington, D.C. for getting girls in trouble. And interestingly enough, Joseph Kennedy got him into the Navy and arranged for him to be sent to the South Pacific as a device to get John F. Kennedy out of Washington, D.C. before there were any more sex scandals. And supposedly John F. Kennedy was sent to a safe area. But ironically, he was put in charge of PT-109. They had that run-in with the Japanese destroyer, and John F. Kennedy became a hero by saving his crew. So he came back from the South Pacific, ideally positioned for a run for the government, for Congress first and then for the White House.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. And moving on down here, there is a new ransomware floating around, discovered by InfoSecurity. And the good news for us ordinary home computer users is this ransomware is not interested in us. Whoever designed this one, it is specifically targeted on large enterprise entities, schools, hospitals, factories, companies, because it's demanding a huge ransom for the unlock key more than any one individual user could use. So less of an annoyance for us, but again, huge losses to our economy at a time when we cannot afford it. Where is the NSA, the FBI, and the CIA in the face of this very clear and present danger to the American economy and our IT infrastructure, which we're told the NSA is supposed to be protecting? Now, there's been another vector discovered for identity theft. If you have a Facebook profile and you change your phone number, you need to make sure you delete your old phone number, because apparently scammers have found out a way where they can basically go to the phone company that you were at and specifically request your old phone number. And then once they have that, they can go back on into Facebook using your old login credentials, your old phone number, and get your personal data. So your online data should be austere. It's just common sense anyway. People are far too trusting. They think it's a computer, it's great, it's high tech, and they put all kinds of stuff on there that they shouldn't. And it makes them vulnerable, especially when we have a government that could care less if you're being robbed, plundered, looted by the cyber criminals. They don't care. They absolutely don't care. Maybe the cyber criminals have their own lobbying group up there in Washington, D.C. Yes, we're going to give you a campaign donation, but yeah, just don't pass any laws regarding cybercrime. Who knows what's going on up there? Now, Elon Musk, who's the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, is out there on his soapbox saying that artificial intelligence must be regulated, saying we need to do it now because by the time we are reactive in AI regulation, it is going to be too late. Now, he raises a valid concern, and if you are a science fiction aficionado, there's a book called Neuromancer by William Gibson, where they talk about these artificially intelligent machines that are under strict lock and key And there's even a special global police force that polices them to keep them from trying to break free of their controls and become independent. And ultimately, at the end of the book, well, I'm not going to spoil the surprise for you. So it is an issue. Is it really a danger now? Well, if you've seen some of the videos I've produced, computers are already a danger to human activity without being artificially intelligent. Most of our financial system is now under the control of very powerful computers who've been programmed for only one priority: make more money for the owners. And that is the only thing shaping their decisions. But a panel of experts over at the recent 2017 Wharton Global Forum in Hong Kong has come to the conclusion that the hype about artificial intelligence has outrun the reality. That so-called AIs, they're getting more clever at simulating artificial intelligence. They're a long ways away from being self-aware. And so they're saying that it'll be there someday. It's not quite here just yet. I remember when I got my iPhone 5 and I was playing games with Siri. And you could tell it was all canned responses. And it's very clever and it's very convincing. But I don't think Siri is really artificially intelligent. The FBI has now sounded yet another warning regarding Internet-connected toys. And these are toys that have cloud-backed features like speech recognition or online content hosting. And the FBI is warning that these toys place the privacy and safety of children at risk because of the large amount of personal information they may be unwittingly disclosing to be intercepted by hackers. Little kids don't understand discretion. And they may be just saying things in their conversation with this device that would be better kept private. And, of course, for this apparent epidemic of child sexual exploitation, predation, if you will. These toys are a gateway into the children's private lives to find out how, where, and when they might be vulnerable. I'll be very honest. If I'd been fortunate enough to be a parent, I would not allow my child to have these things. I would certainly want my child to learn how to use a computer, but just like teaching them how to use a firearm, understand this thing can be dangerous. It's not a toy, it is a tool. And there are bad people out there. Now here's a fun story. I love this one. Apparently over at the Georgetown Waterfront Shopping and Office Complex, this is in Washington Harbor in Washington, D.C., they had a robot security guard, the Nightscope K5, that was patrolling the mall. Looks kind of like R2-D2 and maybe a Dalek for all you Doctor Who fans. And it was supposed to be this crime-fighting robot that could rove the streets and monitor for suspicious activity. And it's been used in a lot of places across the United States. But apparently the pressure was too much for the robot at the shopping mall, which rolled into a fountain and drowned itself. So this robot security guard committed suicide, and all I can wonder is, what did this robot know about Hillary Clinton? This is a good story. I agree with Donald Trump on this one. There is a robotics competition going on, international robotics competition taking place here in the United States of America, and because of the travel ban, this girls' Afghan robotic team were banned from entering the country, and Donald Trump made the appropriate phone calls to get them access. So these Afghan girls are coming on over. They're going to take part in this robot competition. And I think these robotics competitions are really, really cool. And it's nice to see kids getting involved with that sort of thing again. Because I'm a big science buff, and I used to play a lot with robots. And actually, my nephew went through a phase where he was part of his high school robotics club. So I crated up all of my robots and I sent them to him. He's into other things now. Another warning coming on out, this from CBS News. Tech may replace half of all low-skilled jobs in the United States. This is based on Ball State University. And basically saying the more robots that come on in, the fewer jobs there will be for human beings. And that means ordinary workers are going to have even less money to take into those shopping malls. And we're starting to see these robots come on out that can do basic skills like bricklaying. But we have to have jobs. There has to be some mechanism by which the wealth that has accumulated at the very top of our economy, and the wealth differential in this country is at record levels, it has to be recycled down to the bottom so that working people and middle class can trade their labor and their skills for decent wages and salaries in order to care for themselves and have enough left over to pump back into the economy at the shopping malls, at the car dealerships, at the appliance store, at the real estate office. And I'm seeing all these CEOs who are saying, oh, we can't raise the minimum wage, it's going to cost me money, not understanding that collectively their employees are also collectively their customers. There is a clear correlation between the suppression of high wages and salaries in this country and the retail Mageddon we're seeing in front of us. But the money junkies can't see beyond the end of their own wallet, and they just don't seem to comprehend what's going on over there and why the system is locking up. We're heading toward a society where we're going to have factories and shopping malls filled with robots with absolutely nothing to do because there won't be any human beings coming in those doors to buy those products. That's where we're headed right now. I think maybe there is some regulation that would be justified, saying that if there is a job a human cannot do, that is the appropriate place for a robot. But if there is a job a human can do, then we shouldn't have a robot there. We have to make sure people are able to work. We can't just put them on welfare. Nobody will pay for it. And we don't want to disincentivize the desire to work and produce quality products. I mean, if you look at the disaster that communism turned into, because there was no incentive to excellence in that society, we don't want to go down that road. Now, apparently, Segway's latest two-wheel transporter toy, the hoverboard, has turned out to be disturbingly easy to hack. And researchers at IOActive basically looked at the Segway Mini Pro, and they found the wireless link between the machine and its mobile app, apparently you drive it with your smartphone, was insecure, allowing anyone in radio range to basically go on in and commandeer the rides. In other words, it could basically face plant you. Isn't this fun? Boom. It amazes me knowing how widespread cyber mischief is, that they're not taking the time to make these systems just a little bit more secure. And it wouldn't take that much to do. But it would cost money. Remember that disturbing number that came on out? Most countries, the ratio of CEO pay to worker pay is anywhere between 10, maybe 15. Here in the United States of America, it's 450 to 1. CEOs, on average, are making 450 times as much money as their workers. That's why they're opposed to a minimum wage. They don't want to give up all the goodies. They think it's all supposed to flow to them. And it's a nice fantasy, but in the long run, it cannot work. All right, we're going to grab a phone call here. Tim in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, it's Tim. I called you several months ago about the Gold Trail, and I just wanted to apologize for using you, but it was a really good deal. It cost them a few $1 million to move that stuff, and I know it's hard for you to believe that, but go back to the Revolutionary War and who that the British actually surrendered to, and they surrendered to the French.
Yes.
And that gave them billet power, and that's how I was able to trace all of that, was because the French army still moves around America easily. And it was actually easier to trace than I thought it would be. But you've got a lot of smart people listening to you, and they can come up with a lot of this stuff themselves, and they can do a whole lot better than I can. But yes, it worked out really good. They had to move everything out of their tunnels over there, and I really enjoyed being able to do that with you. But I did want to call and apologize for using you. Now, the best thing is we're down to 4 of 10 now in the CIA, which is really good. And but if you notice, there wasn't a single story about the gold for like 3 months after that. And that was a blessing for me to be able to do that.
All right, well, congratulations on your victory there, and I'm still not entirely certain I recall what this issue was all about. But we're going to let you go here. We're almost to the end of the show here, and I got to cover some news. Thank you very much, Tim, here. Apparently, there's a new Linux malware that exploits the Samba Cry flaw, and it is targeting Internet of Things devices, particularly attached storage appliances. This is discovered by researchers at Trend Micro. And again, look at what a huge problem this is, and our government seems oblivious to it. There's only one of two possible explanations. All of these three-letter agencies, NSA, FBI, CIA, are totally incompetent, or they are the ones behind the cybercrime wave. It is just another way of plundering the American people like civil forfeiture. Now, over the last couple of days, been a lot of earthquakes over at the western end of the Aleutians. The planet is kind of rocking and rolling. Big quake down in Peru. We're getting a swarm down in Hawaii. Looks like the Earth is just kind of getting restless here a little bit. All right, we're going to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, 2, keep it today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins. heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And in point of fact, don't join me on the air because this is the last segment of the program, and I don't take calls in that last segment. We need to move that bump to another location in the program here. Now, as you know, next month on the 21st, there's going to be a magnificent solar eclipse all across the United States of America. The path of totality stretches from the west coast to the east coast, and I imagine everybody's getting excited about this. I've never seen a total solar eclipse in my lifetime. It's on my bucket list. And if I were on the mainland, I would be making plans to try and drive on up there. And I imagine that's going to be true for a lot of people. And it has led to Oregon officials telling the citizens that are living along the path of totality to basically stockpile food and be prepared to basically stay at home because the roads are going to be jammed. And everybody there's going to be horrible traffic jams, and people are just going to have to be taking care of themselves while the amateur astronomers come on in, watch the eclipse, and head on back. And that does make a lot of sense, and obviously it applies to everybody living along the path of totality. So if you're along that part of the United States, go and look at the predicted path of totality. And if you're living in that path of totality, common sense. Have some extra food, extra beverages, water, batteries, TV, whatever. You're going to be basically camping out, isolated in your own home, and the roads are going to be jammed because this is one of nature's most magnificent spectacles. And photography does not do it justice. And again, I encourage you to go see it. And if you're on that path of totality, I encourage you to just understand there's going to be a monstrous traffic jam all along that path of totality. And I imagine the oil company is going to be very happy. People are going to be buying a lot of extra gas. I'm sure they'll be coming in from 2-3 states away in many cases because it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see that. Now, apparently there's a new Monsanto product out there, and the EPA has just approved it for Monsanto. And the new product is they're not going to be spraying our crops with glyphosate anymore. They're genetically engineering the plants to produce their own glyphosate internally through a process called RNA interference. Now, first of all, we know that glyphosate is a probable human carcinogen. Second of all, RNA is a much less stable molecule than DNA. It can mutate very rapidly generation to generation. Ebola is based on an RNA strand, and it can change as much as 10% of its structure in a single generation. So tinkering with RNA could get out of control very, very quickly. And again, the degree of recklessness and lack of respect for the dangers here is frightening. Apparently, Canadian researchers spending only $100,000 were able to reconstitute an extinct smallpox virus using several mail-order samples of genetic material. And I have to wonder why. I guess maybe smallpox vaccine sales are slowing down or something. All right, there's the music. Time for me to get on out of here. Please stay tuned for John Stadmiller's program. Take what you learn here, share it with everybody that you know. We have to keep pushing back against this wall of propaganda that is coming down on us even now. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.